Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wellness Resource Center's Mindful Mondays. My name is Lydia Lyons. I use she, her pronouns, and I currently serve as the Mental Wellbeing Coordinator here at the Wellness Resource Center. Mindful Mondays is a part of our series that is offered virtually throughout the fall 2024 semester. Each week, we dive a little bit more into mindfulness and learn different practices that can really help us build a life that we don't want to escape from. Today's theme is all about building a study routine that feels intentional and serves us. We're going to explore some stress management tips and really learn about how to care for ourselves during times of stress. Before we dive into our practice, I'd like to offer a little bit more about the Wellness Resource Center. Our office is the Health Promotion Office here on Temple's campus. Our office focuses on 4 main content areas. Those include mental health and mental well-being promotion, sexual health education, alcohol and other drug education, and internal personal violence prevention. Our office offers workshops and campus-wide events to help students explore all of these content areas. Our physical office is located here in the Student Center, and we are open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. So what is mindfulness? When I think about mindfulness, I'm reminded of this quote offered here on the left side of the screen. It states, "Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment on purpose without judgment." It's something that we very intentionally practice, and it's really sitting with who we are, our thoughts, our feelings, our bodies in the here and now moment. We're not necessarily trying to change anything about the moment. We're not necessarily trying to change or adjust our feelings or thoughts. We're just recognizing them for what they are. We're offering space to show up in that moment, to be fully present and fully aware of who we are, what we're feeling, and how our bodies are interacting with the environment. This concept or science of mindfulness is not something that's new. In its early documented references, mindfulness was connected deeply to silence, acceptance, and contemplation. It has connections both spiritually and religiously, but also in other secular contexts. As we've advanced in the previous 100 years, the science of mindfulness has changed a little bit. Mindfulness is now deeply associated with stress management. It helps us really connect positively with our physical, our mental, and our emotional well-beings. To practice mindfulness is a practice that is something that's consistent and something that works and benefits you. I offer consistent because consistent can look so many different ways. It can be something that is practiced daily. It could be something that's practiced weekly. It could also be something that's practiced throughout the routine of life, right? Through the seasons of life, we might feel that we want to connect deeper with ourselves. No two practices of mindfulness feel or look the same. It's something that deeply benefits you in that moment, right? And so you can practice mindfulness in so many different ways. Typically, there is a cycle or a style of mindfulness that it follows a pattern. Typically, in a mindfulness practice, we start by focusing our attention on an anchor. This anchor could be something physical. It could be staring at something physical, focusing our attention on something physical in our environment. It could also be focusing on our breath, really deeply resonating with our breath and how our body is moving. It could also include counting, right? I think about the practice that many folks might engage with if they can't sleep at night. You start counting sheep, right? that is a practice of mindfulness, right? We're counting. As we focus on that anchor, we notice that our attention in our environment dissipates a little bit. Our attention is focused on that anchor. Eventually, though, we start to notice that our mind will wander. It wanders away from the anchor, it wanders away from the counting. We're focusing more on our environment. Maybe you start thinking about those to-do lists of things that you have to do, or the conversations that you have to have with people, and our mind goes somewhere else. That's okay, right? Our minds are not used to focusing just on one thing, especially something that's highly contemplative. The practice of mindfulness recognizes that our minds are wandering, and then slowly we invite or we nudge our mind back to the practice. We try to redirect our emotions, redirect the train of thoughts back to that practice. We then are focused on that anchor again, and eventually our mind starts to wander. It's what happens. If we're noticing that our mind is wandering and the nudging, the gentle invitations back is taking longer, or we're not connecting with it, that's okay. That says to me that the practice for the day is over, right? The practice benefited us for the time being, and now we're going to focus on something else, and that's okay. For our guided practice today, we're going to explore creating an intentional study plan and creating a plan that feels really balanced. If you have a piece of paper and writing utensil available, I encourage you to grab that. If you're maybe on your phone, maybe switch over to your notes app, and we're going to be writing down a couple of things today. As you're settling into your space, I invite you to take a couple of big, deep breaths in and releasing them out. Focus on your space in the environment that you're in right now. Settling into your space, getting comfy, getting cozy in your environment, and just taking a moment to breathe and to let some of that energy that you're holding settle into the space. Take a moment to think about what your study routines have looked like or have felt like this semester. Have you had any techniques or tools or routines that are really beneficial for you? Are there any areas that maybe aren't resonating with you? Are there areas of opportunity of study that you wanted to explore, but you never had the chance or the time to be able to do that? Feel free to jot down some of your responses. Creating an intentional and balanced study routine really relies upon being self-aware of what you need to study. Take a moment and write down some of those areas that you would like to focus on in the upcoming days. Maybe it's having time to research and pulling scholarly articles for that essay you need to write. Maybe it's coordinating with your group for that group project or that presentation that you have to put together. Now, I encourage you to take a look at your calendar. Identify how much time you have to study between now and when that project is due, or between now and when you have that final exam. Note any of the unstructured time you have between now and then. Time when you don't have responsibilities, time when you don't have work or class or extracurriculars. Notice all of that structured time, because that's the time we're going to focus on to be able to study and to be able to sit down with your projects. With that unstructured time, I now encourage you to make a plan of what all you want to focus on each day. mindful that we don't have to study everything at once or cram everything into one day. We have time, right? So take a moment to think about what you want to focus on each day. As you're creating your study schedule, I encourage you to also prioritize some breaks. Make sure that we're incorporating breaks throughout the day so that we can feel balanced. Breaks allow us to concentrate more during the time that we're studying, and it also helps eases our brains, our bodies when we need that rest. Make sure that you're incorporating some sleep time, whether that be 7 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, or more. We want to make sure that our bodies can also sleep and rest. During those breaks or those periods of rest, you might also value moving your body, getting up and stretching through those breaks, maybe taking time to do a longer exercise or workout, really moving our bodies in ways that feel good and bring us joy to make sure that we're relieving some of that tension and moving our muscles around. Last but not least, as you're taking a look at your study routines, think about where you want to physically be studying. Maybe it's staying at home, studying at a desk or a dining room table. Maybe it's taking breaks and sitting on your couch or your bed. Maybe it's getting out into the environment, taking a look on campus, going to different study locations, booking a study room, meeting up with friends at a cafe, maybe even sitting outside, weather permitting, and getting some fresh air as we're learning. Although it is currently final season, and you may feel very focused on studying now, these practices are things that you can also implement throughout the entire academic year. They aren't things that you have to wait until you have a big test or a big paper or group project that's due. These are tools that you can implement throughout your entire year to help your entire academic year feel balanced and intentional and supportive of that life that you don't want to escape from. As we close out our session today, I wanted to offer some resources and support. Here on campus, we have a number of campus partners and resources available for students. Help is available wherever you're at, and you're not alone in what you're going through. At Temple, we have a couple of confidential resources where the conversations that you have there stay there. Those confidential resources include the Wellness Resource Center, Titleman Counseling Services, Student Health Services, and we have a couple of national resources as well, including the Crisis Text Line and 988, a suicide prevention hotline for folks that want to talk more about their mental health. We also have peer support options available. If maybe you don't want to talk to a professional staff member, but you want to talk with other peers or students who are going through similar things. Titleman Counseling Services offers group therapy and group support for students that may have similar concerns. They meet together, talk through their concerns, and build different tools to be able to cope with those challenges. Titleman Counseling Services also offers the Resiliency Resource Center, or the RRC. That is a drop-in space that students can connect with other peers and student staff. Temple also offers 2 free apps for students. One being Together All, which is a peer support online forum. And we also offer WellTrack Boost. WellTrack Boost can offer other mindfulness practices. It can offer connections and resources all around your mental health, but also your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual, your social, your environmental health, all of those aspects of our well-being. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check in and learn a little bit more about mindfulness. These are, again, practices that you can implement through your entire day and through your entire lifetime. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your year, and we are always here if you ever need any support.